Someone needs to say it. Technology has ruined video games. I mean, think about it. Before developers could just use 1080p and online multiplayer as crutches for games with worthless gameplay mechanics, they had to actually make good games. Remember that? Games that were fun, games that were so cool, you had as much fun sitting there watching a friend play as you did playing it yourself. Well, those days are back. At least that feeling came back for a few hours here at the underwater base this week. It's one of the coolest new platformers Kevin and I have played this year, and it only costs $1. I mean, forget double cheeseburgers, Undertoads. This is a deal worth counting out your nickels for. This interesting little game is called Mute Crimson, and it had Kevin and I handing the controller back and forth for hours, enthusiastically glued to the television, regardless of which of us was actually playing. It felt like 1989 all over again, and if that's not worth $1 to you, well, nothing is. So by now, you've been watching gameplay footage of Mute Crimson for about a minute or so, and if my praise up to this point hasn't been enough to convince you this game is worth your attention, well, that footage alone should have been. Mute Crimson is a 2D platform game built from a very familiar set of principles, but it twists those principles with an obvious degree of affection and respect. It's derivative for sure, but it's more an enthusiastic celebration than an uninspired clone. In fact, if there's one thing this game isn't, it's uninspired. This game builds from the influence of legends to create a new spin on classic ideas, and it doesn't even bother to hide it. I mean, Mute Crimson loves Mega Man and Ninja Gaiden just as much as you do. You play Mute Crimson as a ninja who's out to do things that ninjas do. To be honest with you, I have no idea what's going on in this game, and that's actually one of its charms. Mute Crimson uses purposely jumbled language that's really almost impossible to make any sense of. I guess it's kind of a play on the old English translations characteristic of the 8-bit era, but I mean, honestly, even All Your Base Are Belong to Us makes more sense than this. The dialogue will then times make genuinely loud laugh. But this ninja isn't a man of words, he's a man of action, and that's what Mute Crimson is all about. Climbing walls, slashing up enemies, and jumping to platforms that seem to have single-digit pixel width. Now there's not an abundance of bad guys in your way, but the level designs are borderline cruel at times, and that's the focus of Mute Crimson's gameplay. Just get through the level. And believe me, that's more than enough. Really, there's just not much we don't like about Mute Crimson. The minimalistic art style is absolutely perfect, and it gives the game even more character. That's one thing you don't see very often from indie games on Xbox Live, but it's something this game has more than enough of. The presentation is really slick, the gameplay is polished, and the design of the levels, which is really the game's main attraction, is thoroughly engaging from start to finish. Listen, Kevin and I have to play a lot of crap games, so when something special comes along, it stands out like an explosion of blood against a whitewashed wall. Mute Crimson is something special. A solid little platform game that's black, white, and red all over, and glazed with a thick coat of old-school adoration that's easy to relate to. You know what? Agreed, Mute Crimson. Agreed.